Does anyone have any questions?
I don't have a question, but I have a statement.
Okay.
My statement is as long as parents have a communication that's open and dialogue all the way through, they then have that confidence that they can let the children out the door. I could recall the time that I had to do that with my own children. My daughter had to walk from the bus stop 12 blocks and across a major highway. And it was scary that I let her do that when she was 9.
Oh, my goodness.
The second issue was when my son went to school and he had to take a train to the city of Newark, New Jersey, and had to leave the building and walk down so many blocks to get to the train, and he was attacked by other people, and he learned how to talk his way out of being mugged. So if we didn't allow them to have that free form feeling about allowing them to go out on their own, they would have never been able to handle those occurrences. The daughter at 9 had 2 boys that were trying to bother her, and I just happened to pick it up at that time. But we gave them that independence to say, you have to go out and try it. Meantime, the parents can go and spot check and make sure it's done. But the problem is, parents working today, and that's the issue. So my comment too is, have them have a cell phone, keep in touch with parents. So there's still that relay of confidence that they can do something, and if there's an issue, they can call mom or somebody that's close by that can help them out.
Right.
So the parents really have to let them go, and I totally agree, because those are life learning skills, because when they become adults, to be able to make better decisions, because they had their confidence.
It's true. Life happens to everyone,
Yeah.
and it happens in varying degrees of a little scary to very terrifying. But you know, it really is true. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and as you go out and negotiate these things, you know, if I don't let my children do it, how in the world will they do it when they, you know, it comes their time?
Mhm.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes.
Comment to Eitan Pates.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that was disruptive in the beginning was his family tried to activate community, the Orthodox Jewish community, okay? More like maybe a militant group, that they were gonna go out and investigate and find who were the perpetrators, but they were suppressed by the police. So it went on for a while. The only reason it's in the limelight is because his parents persevered all through the years and were financed and backed by parental groups.
Right.
The problem with this whole problem is liberalism and government interference. The child at the playgrounds, they don't go there because they don't go there. Why? All these, if you would, let's take a 2-year span, if you traveled wherever you traveled, and make it incumbent on yourself to check the playgrounds and see how many times kids are there. These playgrounds have been built to a high standard, ultra safe, OSHA rules, whatever, but they're not used. Why? Because people said we have to have these type of playgrounds. Kids are not, they're not interested in it. They've been mesmerized by something else.
Right, or their parents keep them indoors.
So what is the solution to the problem? Back off on liberalism and let parents be parents, okay? Kathy had told you about our oldest daughter. We have a middle daughter, all right? I was blown away when I was told, you better not smack her around anymore because she can call the police. The police? The police, are you going to house her, feed her, and teach her religion, teach her love, give her an education? There's too much interference, and it all has come about because of liberalism. And you need to tell your kids about it, all right? They need to know that they have to stand up for what they believe in. And if you have a true nuclear family that teaches them love, respect, responsibility, give them religion, and give them a good education, they can go forward and they can combat this thing that's crushing us.
Well, I remember when I was 8 and I took my siblings to the park, and we were fine because it was like a block away. But one of the neighbors saw us and called the police. How how do you recommend parents deal with the fear, not that someone would steal their children, but that someone might alert law enforcement who may not be as understanding, particularly since they've seen so many horror stories?
So her question is, what would you do if,
How
how do you talk to parents who are afraid that, neighbors or law enforcement are going to interfere with their children going out into the world, like going to the park? That's something that happens. It's in the news on a regular basis. I have my own experience with it, and this is what I would say. The first thing is that there are no laws on the books that say that a 9 or 10-year-old can't go to the park by themselves. In fact, many states, when you look at their latchkey laws, will they're surprisingly lenient. Any child who can tell someone how to call 911 in case of danger is they accept that that's old enough to stay home, and that could be as young as 5 or 6 years old. So when it comes to your children going out to the community, no longer being hidden behind closed doors, there is some anxiety that somebody will react by saying, they could be snatched. If it happens, the first thing is, be polite, because these are people who have concerns for your children, and they are, even though they're overreacting, they did it out of, concern and care. So that's the first thing, is to know that your neighbor is not out to get you or hate you or anything else. They're concerned for your children. The second thing is that law enforcement is not going to take your children away. And that's really important to know. It's an anxiety, it's a fear. It's, there's nothing like that moment when you get that letter and you have the police officer come to the door, the social worker come to the door and say, I'm here to discuss, this event that your neighbor reported. These people are not interested in taking your children. They're required by law to come to your house and have this conversation. They don't have a choice, and they don't have like, oh, she said yes, we're gonna time to haul them out. The third thing is that I wouldn't talk very much. The mistake that I think people, especially people who feel like they are maligned, viciously maligned, and totally innocent, is that they go to great lengths to explain all of the reasons why they're innocent and how, this neighbor has it out for them and their kids do this all the time. They even let them do these other things. No, this is not the time to win over the justice system. They have a clipboard. They are listening for certain phrases and activities, which they are required by law to then report to their supervisors. So in the case of some people, they get very hypervigilant. The first words out of their mouth is, we let our kids go to the park, and we eschew antibiotics and vaccines. Well, that's telling someone that you didn't take your child to the doctor when they were sick. They're required to report that. So the best way to keep these people on the right track and doing their job is basically keep it simple. Be very polite. Only answer the questions that they're really interested in getting answers to. Listen to them, and if they make suggestions, say thank you very much for your suggestion. I will, we will take steps to do those things. And then go and speak with your neighbor. Go and, take some cookies over there and have a conversation. You're not always going to be able to convince people to your way of thinking, but if they see that you are responding to them and that you are, wanting to be part of the community, they're going to, 9 times out of 10, they're going to respond more positively to you. It's always nice to have your kids, do things. Take the neighbor's trash cans up, or offer to help mow their lawn, or take their paper up, if it is way down the driveway. Those things, make your neighbors. They know your children. They've interacted with them, and it builds their confidence that your children are not, just in danger, abandoned out at the, down at the playground. So.
I'll follow up on that. A neighbor contacts Health and Human Services or whatever and says, hey, the people at 148 South Street let their kids run rampant, what do they have to do? Go in and sign a complaint, sign it?
No,
It
they
all
only
can be
have to
done
make a
verbal?
phone call.
A phone call?
They only have to make a phone call. It's anonymous. They protect people who report them. You know, and it's really difficult to, occasionally I have heard of people who are using it vindictively, and it's really difficult to, you know, penalize people
So
like
I'm the
that.
parent, somebody knocks on the door, I'm from Health and Human Services, I need to talk to you about.
You
an issue."
say-
And okay, say, about what? And if they say it was reported by somebody that you let your kids go down to 5 blocks to the playground, they're young, they're unescorted, you're in violation. Do I have a right to say, who reported this? I want their name before we even talk.
No, so the question
Well, then
is,
I'll throw the person.
is that if Health and Human Services comes to your door, do you have the right to know who it is? No, they protect those people. They protect whistleblowers, just like.
So
other things.
somebody, let me get this right, somebody can anonymously call, not give their name, and make a complaint, register something. The frontline person that takes that call, do they go to a supervisor? Does that supervisor
It gets
say?
reported, and I think that it goes, you know, to, you know, it goes into the department, and then they first thing that they do is they send a letter, if they're able to. So they send a letter to the address, stating that they're coming on such and such day to discuss these matters. So if they come and you haven't responded to the letter, you can ask them to come another time. You can say, I'm sorry, I didn't get your letter, can I make another appointment with you? Which I think is always the best situation, is just to give yourself space, is to, you know, for them to come on your terms as opposed to the terms that they set. When they come, they interview the parents and the people who live in the house. They interview the children. If the children are in school, they interview them at school without parents present. They look at medical records, criminal records of the parents, and dental records. They check to see that the children have beds in their bedrooms, that there's a bed for every child in the house, that there's food in the refrigerator, and that you know, the house is free of any dangerous situation or unhealthy situation. There's running water, electricity, things like that. And so that's what they do, because that's what the law requires them to do. Because there are children who are in danger, who, you know, they don't have those things, or they have, you know, people who are abusing them. And so, you know, it is a fear, but the number of people, the number of innocent people who are being swept up by, you know, Child Protective Services is really very few, and they're almost always immediately the investigation ends and nothing happens. Very rarely the investigation goes on longer than the original 30-day period of time. And it really could be because someone just couldn't stop themselves from talking and talking and talking.
I have a question. What prompted you to have this presentation? What were you doing to cause
Sure.
this?
I am taking a tech-based public speaking class, and our first class was on, you know, something that was close to us, and so I demonstrated how to make a souffle.
Okay.
And the second speech has been a persuasion speech,
Mhm.
and I don't know a lot about breast cancer. I don't know a lot about quitting smoking, or, you know,
These were your
lung
topics.
cancer, but I know these are topics that other people have chosen. But I do know something about children and about raising them, and I think that my children are, they are independent, and I think that they are responsible and polite young people.